Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Abisola Olu-Ojo. If you are new here, you are very welcome. And if you are a returning viewer or subscriber, you are welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I want to talk about a highly requested topic, and it's being Black in Australia, what my experiences have been as a Black woman, things around racism, representation, and diversity. So if you are interested in this video, definitely keep watching. So without wasting any time, I'll just get right into it, guys. I've had a few people come into my comments and my DM on Instagram asking me about racism in Australia and if I've had any experiences or friends have shared their experiences with me. And to answer that very directly, guys, yes, there is racism in Australia. But what I find and what I've observed is that it is very subtle, it is very casual. It's not the in-your-face kind of racism. Before I continue, I think that it's important to put out a disclaimer and say that everything I share here or talk about is based on my personal experience, I don't think that there are any two people who have the exact same experiences, so what I share here will be based on what I've seen, what I've experienced, or what my observations are. So if you have any opinion different from what I would share here, please feel free to put them down in the comment section. Okay, so going back to talk about racism, what I think is that it is very subtle. It will probably come across to you as a joke. The person might claim to be joking, where they make snide comments, condescending or derogatory comments from what I have seen. So to put that into more context, I've had a time where someone told me that I look like Bob Marley. Guys, please tell me, is it true? Is it true that I look like Bob Marley? I don't think so. You know how ladies, black skin girls like to, spice up how we look, and we tend to change our hairstyles from time to time. So usually I would wear a wig to work, and I do that quite often. I change my hairstyles very often. So this one time I went to work wearing braids, freshly made braids, looking very on point, and this guy is someone who most people know to just talk without any filter. He just says things and is very chatty. So he just saw me and is like, "Hey, Abby, you look like Bob Marley," and he made that comment. And when someone just makes a comment you don't expect, and for some reason I had no instant response for him. I did not know what to say. And then to make things worse, as soon as he made that comment, someone starts laughing. It was just so embarrassing, and unfortunately I wasn't prepared to respond. Even right now I don't recall what I said to him there and then, but I know that I just walked away to my table and I was pondering about what he had said. So is this guy just joking innocently, or is he just being downright racist? And it took me about 4 days to decide what my line of action will be. And I should also say that it's so important to have some kind of action when you experience racism, if you can, So what I did was to report him to my manager then and let him know how inappropriate his comment was. And then I went on to confront him myself 5 days after and just let him know that I did not find his comment funny and that I found it very inappropriate, So I think it's important to stand up for yourself when you can. And I try to as much as I can, otherwise people would just take you for granted and treat you in ways you don't want to be treated. So that happened that one time. And I've also had an experience where I had this colleague, for a long time when we're in team meetings or having conversations. He would be very responsive, speak to people, talk to people. But guys, every single time I made a comment or spoke about something, either contributing or suggesting, this guy will go mute. I'm not even joking. Like, he won't say anything because I'm talking. He won't respond. He will just act like I'm not there. That kind of thing. Like, he would just go, and it was so obvious. And I always wonder that, do other people even see what this guy is doing? Do they notice it? He will be so mute as soon as I start speaking. And just to ensure it wasn't just in my head, I had to confirm somehow, So There was a day when I called his name. Let's just assume he's Matthew. Let's do that. So I'm like, Matthew, Matthew. The first three calls, he didn't respond. And I used my pen to hit his table to get his attention. And he's like, what? I don't want to talk to you. I'm like, wow, I see. I wasn't wrong the whole time. He just didn't want to have anything to do with me. I'm like, wow, like how, wow, like it was just so shocking. Even though I already knew, it was still very shocking for me that you would choose not to speak with me, whereas you speak with everybody else on my team. And at the time, I was the only Black person in my team. I have never shared this with anybody, well, aside my husband, interestingly. So all those months of assuming, I was actually correct that this guy didn't want to have anything to do with me. Now, there's no other reason. This is never me making things up. It was obviously because he just didn't like me as a Black woman, unfortunately. For him, actually, not for me. Unfortunately for him. So that was my second most memorable encounter with a racist person. I've also had times where I'm on the public train and where the seats are almost filled up. There's probably one seat beside me and you have someone, and not just Australians, guys, bearing in mind that it's a very culturally diverse country we have. So I've had time, there was one time where an Asian guy saw this seat right next to me and looked at my face and chose not to sit down. Now, why? In my opinion, that's your loss. Beautiful girl, you see me, you don't want to sit down by my side, that's your loss. So what I do then is I take my handbag that I've placed on my lap and just put it beside me so my handbag is more comfortable since you don't want to sit down. I've had that happen to me twice where there's a seat by my side and this person looks me in the face and chooses not to sit beside me. Like, interesting, right? Very interesting. Yeah. So those are my major racist experiences from what I can recall. But also, guys, bear in mind that I've been here for almost 5 years and this has happened to me just four or five times in all throughout my stay here. I've had a few friends talk to me about their experiences. They've had similar experiences like mine, or just people asking the most insane questions, So, what is Africa like? And also, a lot of ignorant people in Australia think that Africa is a country. So they do not know much about us as Africans, and really, why should they? I mean, if you don't think that you should know about a people, you will definitely make assumptions about them. And also bearing in mind that all they know and all they see is what the media shows them. So there's that projection and how the media portrays Australian and Nigerians or Africans, as helpless, poor, hungry. So they have generalized that every African person or black-skinned person in Australia is either a refugee, poor, helpless, and just found their way in here in search of greener pastures, not bearing in mind that a huge percentage of Africans are probably skilled migrants, professionals, skilled, trained people, so that they have that assumption that we are lesser than them, which is very, very unfortunate. Again, there are a few people who are well informed, and if you get to know them, are actually good, friendly people. It's not all bad. And I can say very categorically that Australia is a very safe country for immigrants. It's not what you hear happening in America, for example, where people are mean, in your face kind of mean, using the N-word and things like that. I've listened to a YouTuber say that our first encounter with a racist in Australia, the person actually used the N-word with her. I've never had it that bad, and I do not hope to. And that's why I said earlier that everybody's experience is different, So yeah, people ask you silly questions like, oh, and comments like, oh, your English is so good. I had that a lot when I just came here, and I'm like, oh, well, I think your English is good too. Just end this thing about racism by saying that it is there definitely. It is subtle, and if you are not very sensitive about it, you would think that the person is just making a joke, but it is there, and it's something that we have to come to terms with, unfortunately. There are a lot of people who lack knowledge, and that's why they behave that way. And it's also important to learn how to be firm when you have these experiences, so you know how to stand up for yourself. And above all, I think it's important to be proud of your identity, your color, and all that you represent, irrespective of what some ignorant people might think or how they might treat you. And this will also go for parents raising children here, to get them to be very confident in their identity. I always wonder for black children who were born here, if they've had different experiences compared to who people like us who came into the country with our own mindsets already and things like that. I wonder if they have it easier. But yeah, I think that there will always be racism, it will always be there. But speaking for Australia, I consider it a very safe country for immigrants. And the racism is something you can definitely live with and deal with successfully. Yeah. So as far as being black in Australia, I would also touch on representation or the lack thereof. As a black woman, we have our very unique needs. I recall that for the first year or the first 2 years I was in this country, I always had to shop for hair products online, shop for makeup products online, because I just could not find what I need, as far as the correct shade for my makeup products. If you go, even till now, guys, if you go to the very common, popular drugstores, you will hardly find your shade of foundation or powder, things like that. Aside for MAC has a wide range of foundation for black skin women, as well as Mecca. I believe they also stock a wide range, but your everyday drugstores or supermarkets will not have. You probably just see the pale shade of foundation, which is not very good. I mean, for a country that claims to be culturally diverse, this only just it seems like they only tolerate the diversity and they don't celebrate it. A lot of organizations claim to be inclusive and all, but I think that they have to be more intentional about it. Being black, I'm constantly aware of my own presence in a lot of places, especially in the workplace. My first job, corporate job, I was the only black person in my team, and this job I'm currently working in, I am still the only black person in my team. I know that a lot of companies tend to try to be more inclusive, as far as diversity is concerned, but I think that a lot more work needs to be done in this area. Yeah, I think in terms of offerings, there is a lack of representation. Yeah, so those have been my experiences. As far as buying food, it was a bit of a struggle initially, but it's quite easy. We have our African stores that have almost everything you need to eat healthy as an African man or woman. Our supermarkets will still have the regular fish and meats and vegetables that any African person can eat. Yeah, so another one that comes to mind is when people stare at you because you look different, you dress different. I recall a time where we went out for lunch, my family and I was dressed in this bright colored Ankara fabric. It was really bright. It had red, yellow, and green, and people were just mesmerized. They just kept staring at me. They could not control how hard they stared at me. So you get that stare, and I think it's because you're fabulous, you look really good. So yeah, I get stares from time to time. I even get children staring at me, especially elderly people, stare at them hard, stare at black people hard, just trying to figure them out, I guess. Yeah, so I think that's most of what I intend to share in this video. In all, I've grown. I enjoy living in the country. It's a country where you can be successful and thrive, and enjoy with your family. So it's safe and I love it. Like I said, if you get to know the good ones, you can actually make friends. It might take some time, but it's definitely a country that you can live in and be happy there. I've been happy. And it gets easier. These experiences, it gets easier, and eventually you might not even notice it anymore because you're doing fine and you settled into the system. So if you've had any different experiences from what I've shared, please let me know in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this video. And if you've also enjoyed watching to the very end, please subscribe to my channel. I share videos like this from time to time, majorly about my experiences as a Black woman, as a Nigerian woman living in Australia. I share my migration stories and experiences, and I would hope that you stay tuned to this channel. And yeah, let me read from you. Let me hear from you, and I will see you on my next one. Bye, guys.